I've been asked to speak about the history of the Parish Press. I would say that there are distinct age groups that have different histories. For those who know the Parish Press as she currently exists, they think of it as being a publication company who has a website, and also where you have the ability to go onto that website and to be able to order a number of devotional products, DVDs, CDs. Now, I need to tell you, when the Parish Press was founded, nobody knew what a DVD was or a CD, and everybody knew what a book was. And so this whole point of the Parish Press, when Dean Averill, who at that time was in Indiana, northern Indiana, brought it into being, was to provide devotional materials for the church that would be distinctively Anglo-Catholic. He then moved to St. Paul's Cathedral in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, in the Diocese of Fond du Lac, and the Parish Press actually became an integral part of the ministry of St. Paul's Cathedral. It then went from dean to dean, so to speak, and the majority of those who kept the Parish Press running by shipping orders, wrapping up orders, getting things printed were the nuns, because just across the street from St. Paul's Cathedral was the bishop's palace, very nice with a large chapel in it, and Bishop Grafton was the one most noted for both St. Paul's Cathedral and that beautiful palace. And then less than a block down the street was the convent of the sisters. And the sisters were the ones who kept the Parish Press rolling. SHN, Sisters of the Holy Nativity. Absolutely wonderful, vibrant order in the days of the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Sadly, today there are only a few left. And so what occurred is, with the decline of membership at St. Paul's Cathedral, in the Cathedral Church of St. Paul, technically, in Fond du Lac, and the decline in the number of sisters, the Parish Press continued to decrease in its prominence, and it finally got to a point in the 1990s where it was put up for sale. We discovered at the time that we were interested, that is my wife and I, that the Parish Press owned about 5 times more than what was listed in their most recent catalog, because of the fact that the Parish Press had published numerous books, numerous tracts, numerous charts, numerous devotional materials, many of which were used in churches and people didn't even know that it came from the Parish Press. That would include the setting up of the chalice and the paten, setting out of vestments, how to light and extinguish candles, all of the things that you see in church sacristies everywhere from the Parish Press. So, what happened is, my wife and I determined that we would purchase the Parish Press. We were rather excited about it, and I even sent one of my canons up there to seal the deal when we discovered it was for sale. And so we submitted the amount that we thought we were being asked to pay, and when Canon H.W. Herman arrived at St. Paul's Cathedral Church of St. Paul in Fond du Lac with an earnest check, he handed it over to them. They cashed it. He came back to seal the deal, and they changed the rules. They determined that what they would do is they would put it out for a sealed bid. When they did that, we lost the bid, even though the check had been endorsed, and it was sold to a priest in a diocese where the dean of the cathedral in that diocese had a sister who was the secretary for the Cathedral Church of St. Paul and for the Parish Press. And so she was able to share with the priest who successfully purchased it the amount of money that it would cost to purchase it, which was a couple dollars over what we had already agreed upon. And so we lost it. And we determined, after talking with the Bishop of Fond du Lac, that it wouldn't be in the best interest of the church for us to be able to contest that. So we proceeded joyfully. My wife and I then founded something called Dove Tracts, Tracts, because our goal was to be able to publish contemporary publications of traditional elements. That is to say, by taking elements of the faith and putting them on CDs and DVDs. We were quite successful in those endeavors and began the process of selling them around the country until years later we discovered that the Parish Press had once again gone into oblivion and was in the basement of a cathedral in a, I will not name the diocese or the cathedral nor the state in which it was sitting. Now, ostensibly, the reason why we wanted the Parish Press, apart from the fact that we wanted to keep traditional elements alive, was because this company also owned the rights to all of Bishop Parsons' books and other books of people with whom we were very fond. And so, wanting to preserve Bishop Parsons' writings and wanting to republish, and we couldn't, we did everything we could to proceed. The good news is that we were able to purchase it. Maybe the better news is we got it for much less than we would have had to have paid for it when it was in Wisconsin. The bad news is that years had gone by and the name of the Parish Press had been forgotten. And so, once again, Canon Herman, Father Ronald Drummond, and Father Keith Robertson all got into a U-Haul with me, and we drove to that place and we loaded up the Parish Press into the truck, and the next thing you know, the garage of the bishop and his wife, late of Quincy, became the Parish Press. We became aware of the fact that there were now interested people who wanted to have more and more of what we had, and that it outgrew the garage. We rented a storage facility. It worked out well in one sense, but at the same time, the 8th Bishop of Quincy was asked to take care of a little church, and he wound up becoming the vicar there, and realized that perhaps one of the things that might help is if that church, namely St. Timothy Church, would be able to receive monthly rental. And so what happens now is that St. Timothy's houses the Parish Press in its classroom number 1, and money comes to St. Timothy's monthly from the Parish Press in the form of rentals so that it will help everybody involved. Also, it was my goal and my wife's goal that St. Timothy's would increasingly become very prominent in the traditional church scene internationally. So that means that St. Timothy's is the home headquarters of several very significant endeavors, one of which is the Parish Press. Parish Press now has published numerous books, continues to publish books. It is truly a nonprofit organization in the sense that all profits are folded back into new printings, new books, other things that people want. The goals are to make all of these excellent Catholic devotionals and books available to everybody and to keep the price as low as we possibly can so that it's affordable for the average person. So that's why there are no people who receive any form of compensation in any way for the work of the Parish Press. And indeed, there are members of St. Timothy's who have become a part of it by virtue of helping to fill orders, go to the post office, pick up supplies, transport supplies, and any other number of activities that keep this very much alive, for which I am extremely grateful. And so, let me just conclude by saying that the Parish Press is a growing concern. albeit the fact that not every parish is asking for it. Once again, low church evangelicals either don't know about it or would find much of what is available there to be not as usable for their circumstances, because the goals of the Parish Press, as far as it relates to more lofty goals other than making things available, keeping it current, and sending it out, is the fact that these are books and devotionals that have been able to withstand the test of time. Over 2,000 years for many of them, and for a number of them that come out of not only the Oxford movement in England, but also out of the Anglo-Catholic revival in the United States, which included, by the way, what we called the Beretta Belt, the various dioceses that went from Fond du Lac down to and including Quincy and parts of Nebraska and parts of West Missouri once upon a time. And so the future for the Parish Press is bright, as the history of the Parish Press is bright. We now have whole new types of customers. No longer are they what we call shrine parishes, which is what most Anglo-Catholic parishes were in the United States for most of our history. Shrine churches were those parishes in dioceses that people would flock to because there were no other parishes like them. So for instance, my church in the Diocese of Pittsburgh, where I was brought up, was a shrine church because it was Anglo-Catholic, and it was also the preferred church of the one-time bishop, Bishop Whitehead. I also then became the rector of a shrine church in the Diocese of Pittsburgh because we had the largest shrine of Our Lady of Walsingham in the United States. And that being said, meant that people regularly came from around the country either to make an appointment to come to pray, or I would hold holy days, I would have special events, and especially on the Marian festivals, people from the Society of Mary and other societies would come to Mass at St. Mary's Church in Charleroi to the Shrine Church of Our Lady of Walsingham. And so trying to provide all of these things for such churches around the United States has always been helpful. On the other hand, I might add, there are an increased number of people from around the country who are discovering the faith of the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And as they discover it, they want to know where they can get the products. And as they want to know where they get the products, then they wind up eventually finding the Parish Press. And the next thing you know, orders come in for Stations of the Cross, booklets, CDs, DVDs, any number of things that you can possibly imagine the Parish Press sends out and around that people have seen. And now we're international. In fact, we hold the rights to books of an author in England, and if the people in England want his book, they have to order his book from us. On and on, these books continue to touch a number of lives. The greatest sales that we have in the Parish Press are not within the state of Texas. They are outside the state of Texas, which has with it a certain sense of irony. But nonetheless, a little bit on the Parish Press. Always happy when people ask the question, because this is a business that I believe is going to continue and going to bless many people long after the Lord has called my wife and me home.